Week 9. Day 57, on 2 types of happiness. People who have high levels of what is known as eudaimonic well-being, the kind of happiness that comes from having a deep sense of purpose and meaning in life, think Mother Teresa, showed very favorable gene expression profiles in their immune cells. They had low levels of inflammatory gene expression and strong expression of antiviral and antibody genes. However, people who had relatively high levels of hedonic well-being, the type of happiness that comes from consummatory self-gratification, think most celebrities, actually showed just the opposite. They had an adverse expression profile involving high inflammation and low antiviral and antibody gene expression. Mark Wheeler. Science suggests that the fleeting happiness you get from succumbing to a temptation is inferior, at least when it comes to its effect on how your genes express, to the type of happiness you can draw out of a sense of purpose and meaning in life. According to the study, a person guided by a deep sense of purpose is less likely to suffer from inflammation and more likely to have a stronger immune system. While both types of happiness can generate the same positive emotions, it's those with high levels of eudaimonic well-being that benefit more. Since the results come from a study on just 80 participants, we shouldn't treat the conclusions as a broadly applicable scientific fact. However, there's definitely immense power in having a mission in your life. When all of your decisions are aligned toward a better future, even if you're suffering at times because things don't go as planned or it's hard to maintain self-discipline, you wake up fired up, with vigor and a sense of purpose you'd never get if you were to prioritize hedonic well-being. Day 58, on cultivating physical excellence. For in everything that men do the body is useful, and in all uses of the body it is of great importance to be in as high a state of physical efficiency as possible. Why, even in the process of thinking, in which the use of the body seems to be reduced to a minimum, it is matter of common knowledge that grave mistakes may often be traced to bad health. And because the body is in a bad condition, loss of memory, depression, discontent, insanity often assail the mind so violently as to drive whatever knowledge it contains clean out of it. But a sound and healthy body is a strong protection to a man, and at least there is no danger then of such a calamity happening to him through physical weakness. On the contrary, it is likely that his sound condition will serve to produce effects the opposite of those that arise from bad condition. And surely a man of sense would submit to anything to obtain the effects that are the opposite of those mentioned in my list. Besides, it is a disgrace to grow old through sheer carelessness before seeing what manner of man you may become by developing your bodily strength and beauty to their highest limit. Socrates. Socrates points out that there are several dangers in not cultivating physical excellence. First, an unhealthy body leads to an unhealthy mind. Can a person suffering from preventable health disorders dedicate all of their resources toward personal growth? Physical debilitations that you can overcome with your own efforts, such as obesity or a weak immune system due to bad nutritional habits, sap your energy and limit your potential. If you're constantly getting sick, how likely are you to maintain self-discipline? I don't know about you, but whenever I get so sick that I can barely walk around the house, my routine is out of the window and it takes a considerable amount of time to return to it. The more often you get sick, the more difficult it is to build new habits and maintain successful routines. Second, a strong body is better prepared, both physically and mentally, to deal with any health problems that you can't prevent. Consequently, you can more quickly recover from those hardships, or accept them with more ease, and refocus your efforts on your most important long-term goals. Last but most definitely not least, developing your body to your own highest limit, which doesn't mean becoming a musclehead or having a perfectly sculpted body, is a valuable goal in itself. It shows you how much you can push your limits, teaches you how powerful long-term dedication can be, and can transform your entire mindset. In fact, just cultivating physical excellence on its own can develop powerful self-discipline. I can attest to these benefits. When I started exercising and my body began to change, I soon saw my mental state reflect the positive external changes. A great amount of the experience I have had with overcoming temptations and sticking to my resolutions comes from physical activity and my resolve to become the strongest person I can. If you aren't putting your health and fitness first, it's high time you change that. Day 59, on your vices masquerading as virtues? No vice exists which does not pretend to be more or less like some virtue, and which does not take advantage of this assumed resemblance. Jean de la Bruyere. Bad habits are so difficult to give up not only because they're pleasant, but also because they often masquerade as virtues. When you think of your vice as a friend rather than your enemy, it's even harder to eliminate it from your life. For example, people who sleep in and suffer from low productivity might claim that, thanks to staying up late, they have a great social life. They fail to notice they're paying too high a price for a benefit they could obtain in a different way without jeopardizing their long-term goals. I used to believe that it was good to jump from one business idea to another. I thought that by trying different things, I would eventually find the perfect idea that would magically grow into a successful business. In reality, I lacked the self-discipline to focus and wasted several years on endeavors that were destined to fail. Were there some benefits in spreading my attention so thin? Certainly. They weren't more valuable than what I was losing, though, and what I considered a virtue was actually a vice that was sabotaging my goals. Are there any vices of yours that might masquerade as virtues? Question your deeply held beliefs and ask yourself if your supposed virtues are indeed helpful, or perhaps they're like a friend that gives you $1 with one hand while stealing $5 from your wallet with the other. Day 60, on pressing on. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination are omnipotent. The slogan "Press on" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Calvin Coolidge. When in doubt, press on. It sounds obvious and trite, yet the simple fact of life that people who are persistent are usually more successful than less determined geniuses often escapes us. Time heals all wounds, and time, or rather, persistence that is exercised over a long period of time, also leads to success. In the world of self-publishing, many authors are extremely talented, but they fail to achieve success because they give up after releasing one or two flops. Meanwhile, the ones who initially lack writing skills or formal education but keep on going, writing one book after another until one finally succeeds, are the ones who occupy the bestseller lists. People who can speak foreign languages aren't born with a gene that allows them to acquire them quickly. Most of them aren't smarter than you or me, yet they manage to master several languages, including the ones that are thought to be almost impossible to learn by a foreigner. Their secret lies in persistence. If you learn 10 new words a day, you learn 3,650 words a year. Consequently, within a few years you'll possess an extensive vocabulary, all thanks to a small, daily time investment that doesn't require any special talents or being a genius. If you're currently struggling with your goal, remind yourself that even if you feel like you're lost in a maze, pressing on will eventually help you reach your destination, and in many cases, it's the only thing that separates the winners from the losers. Day 61, on extreme actions. You don't get extreme talent, fame, or success without extreme actions. Derek Sivers. It's important to approach your goals in a sustainable way, thinking in terms of months, years, or decades instead of mere days or weeks. However, at the same time, taking extreme actions can pay handsome dividends, too. Balancing between the extreme and more sustainable approach is a difficult art, but in essence, it comes down to taking extreme actions during a relatively brief period of time, while ensuring that your actions are sustainable over the long term. For example, when my first book became a bestseller, I stuck to a strict publication schedule to benefit from the gained momentum. I launched my second book, on which I had been working since I finished the first draft of my first book, a mere 3 weeks later. My third book went live in another 2 weeks, and my fourth was released 3 weeks after the previous one. From there, I slowed down my pace, but I still managed to release at least 4 new books each year. In the short term, my actions were extreme. And precisely because of that, I was able to build a large following quickly. However, after an initial sprint, you need to slow down to go the distance, and that's when I transitioned to a little less extreme approach, but one still exhibited by few authors. Are you taking extreme actions to gain momentum and separate yourself from the ones who don't have the self-discipline needed to push themselves hard for a short period of time? How can you intensify your efforts for a couple of weeks or months to maximize your results before transitioning to a more sustainable and less extreme approach? Day 62, on Moonshot Projects. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. John F. Kennedy. As we've already discussed several times, living your life the hard way makes it paradoxically easier, while avoiding the hard things makes your life more difficult. When it comes to accomplishing your goals, the hard truth is that easy accomplishments often go away quickly, while larger projects produce more lasting results. For one, setting close to impossible goals requires you to think in categories producing pivotal differences, and not mere tweaks. For example, losing 5 pounds, or 2 kilos, requires a small tweak. You can eat less for 2 weeks and you'll accomplish your goal. However, you won't fix the underlying issue of being overweight, and probably soon regain the weight. How about losing 50 pounds, or 20 kilos, this year? You can no longer afford to think in terms of small tweaks. You need a permanent change, a change in your habits and identity that will address the cause of the problem and lead to a permanent solution. Audacious goals can also transform your life. While reaching safe, easy objectives won't change much in the grand scheme of things. If you want to save $1 million for retirement, you'll need a different strategy than if you only want to save enough for a rainy day fund. A moonshot project of building a $1 million nest egg might lead you to building a business that will not only generate $1 million for retirement, but also help you retire early, a pleasant side effect you initially didn't anticipate at all. As an additional benefit, big goals are more motivating, which means you'll be less likely to give up when you encounter obstacles. Granted, you need to pursue the hard things in a smart way so that you won't find yourself walking with your head in the clouds. Set an audacious goal, but accompany it with a realistic deadline. An ambitious goal is still a big accomplishment, even if it takes you years to achieve it. Day 63, on the will being stronger than the skill. Champions aren't made in gyms, champions are made from something they have deep inside them, a desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have last-minute stamina, they have to be a little faster, they have to have the skill and the will. But the will must be stronger than the skill. Muhammad Ali. When you switch your focus from instant gratification toward long-term accomplishment, create a mental image of why you should reject the instant rewards and keep going, despite hardships, failures, sacrifices, and lack of compensation. A detailed vision of your wished-for future will fuel your resolve, compensating for any weaknesses you might have or difficulties that might stand on your way toward success. For example, I struggled with extreme shyness as a teenager. I set a goal to develop self-confidence and feel relaxed in all kinds of social settings. I was, and still am, an introverted lone wolf who needs solitude more than I need other people. However, my will was strong. I knew I needed to make this change in order to stop limiting my personal growth, something I found and still find is one of my most important values. This deep desire kept me going, despite my personality being extremely unsuited to social settings. Note that your deep desire doesn't have to be about you. You've surely heard stories about people performing incredible feats of strength to rescue a victim of an accident. For example, in 2013 in Oregon, teenage sisters Hannah, age 16, and Haley, age 14, lifted a 3,000-pound, 1,360 kilograms, tractor to save their father, who was pinned underneath it. 60. The mechanism that supports such impossible actions still baffles scientists. We only know one thing for sure: under normal circumstances, Hannah and Haley wouldn't be able to lift a tractor. It was their will, their immense desire to save their father, that gave them superhuman strength. If you're struggling with a certain goal, think who could benefit from you achieving it. How could you improve somebody's life, or perhaps even save a life, thanks to persevering and accomplishing your objective?